Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of the Back to the TARDIS podcast, the podcast where we take a look at every single episode of the 2005 revival of BBC's Doctor Who. I'm Geoff.
Hello, I'm Aurora.
I am no one. My eyes hurt.
And this week, we are discussing Series 7, Episode 6, The Bells of St. John. This is the first episode of the second half of Series 7, and the first to feature Clara Oswald as a full-time companion, because technically it didn't really count before, ? It's also very interesting because, like, they were very much like, no, this is not a series premiere, but it still feels like the beginning of a series. Like, Series 5 Part 1 feels like just more of Season 6. And this feels like the actual proper beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking as I was watching this, it's just like, oh, I don't know how high this would rank in, like, the Moffat series openers, and then I was like, fuck, this isn't a Moffat series opener, technically.
No, I would honestly go far enough to say that I think, personally, that this counts enough as a series opener, and I do enjoy this episode.
It is. I was surprised because I remembered this being a very just like nothing episode, but it was like the plot itself wasn't like anything astounding.
Yeah,
but it was entertaining. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it works. It works, and I think it's an overall sign of the fact that, like, it improves a little bit here. There's still some shit like Journey to the Center of the TARDIS and like Nightmare in Silver aren't too hot, but overall, I think it does improve a bit for this stretch with Clara, even if this is Clara's worst stretch, IMO. Because it's kind of the inverse of the 9 and Rose thing, where it's like 12 and Clara are so much more better and interesting than 11 and Clara.
I feel like
I would definitely
as an analogy,
agree.
this...
Like, I think...
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I definitely agree 12 and Clara are, like, better, but I'm kind of shocked by, like, how good 11 and Clara are regardless.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, they're not bad, and it's the same thing of, like, 10 and Rose aren't bad either. It's just not quite the same, and I think part of the problem for me is the fact that 11 is a fairly pretty young person, and there's, like, that romantic undercurrent, which is pretty explicitly not there with 12, and in fact I'd actually say that, like, you could make a very interesting study of, like, 12 and Clara being a very, like, interesting case of a representation of an asexual aromantic relationship.
I could buy
Possibly.
that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, like, it's pretty clearly stated that they do love each other. It's just in a very much not romantic or sexual way.
For sure. I was gonna liken it to, like... I think this dynamic is like box wine. It does in a jiffy, and in comparison to the tap water we were drinking with Series 6 and the first half of Series 7, it's just like, okay, this is a step up. But then we get to, like, 12 and Clara, and that's like you're drinking high-end 5-star wine from a restaurant. Like, that's the kind of gap we're talking about, and it's decent.
And then you get to 12 and Bell, which is like $1,000 whiskey bottle.
Yeah, I used to maintain that this was my least favorite Clara introduction, and while I still Victorian Clara is still like the pinnacle to me, this does get over Asylum of the Daleks, just because I'm an adult now and I realize how much Asylum just kind of falls flat. So I was just like, okay, I can get with this. I can see where some people thought it was too romantic or whatever. We'll get there. But it was decent. I liked it.
I will say one criticism that I have about this episode is that the central Wi-Fi gimmick is kind of some boomer shit.
Oh, like, no doubt. The actual mechanics of the story are complete horseshit.
Like, it feels like trying... You know what, actually? The gimmick feels not like an actual RTD episode, but someone trying to pull off the vibes of an RTD episode and failing. Because it's very surface level. Oh. Okay. We had a quick dropout on the Discord. Is your caster still working?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyway, as I was saying, it feels like someone trying to do like the RTD vibe or aesthetics of the episode in very modern day and topical and down to earth, but kind of missing like it's kind of missing the special sauce. It's played a little bit too straight, I think.
It's very much like Baby's first technocracy commentary, or at least just I get those vibes from it, because this isn't like the Chibnall, like, what are we gonna have to do without these phones? Talk to each other? Like, it isn't that level, but
yeah, it's not that bad. With
the opening being what it was, with like the random people, which is like to the credit of the guy and like the setup and the editing, it's like it's a very effective intro to like a boomery concept, but like that and the hacking,
it ain't partners in crime.
Oh my god, the hacking is so funny. The Doctor like aggressively typing and like the visuals of him like putting lines of code into the other person's lines of code
with epic music. I don't know. I was enjoying it.
He's hacking.
It felt RTD classic, like, pulpiness. I was just like, I'm here for it. This is comfort food.
It's a little bit on the nose for... I don't know. I don't know. I feel like there'd be some little sauce more to it with RTD. No, my RTD bias is not showing. Shut the fuck up. 11... the central conceit of this episode is people getting stolen by the Wi-Fi. And like, you know, like it's just like the fact that it shows up as like alien lettering on your Wi-Fi network is like, that's a little bit too Doctor Who-y on the nose. Like, you could have tried a little harder.
Not only is it alien lettering, I'm pretty sure, I didn't have time to double check this, but it looks disturbingly like the Star Wars alphabet with Orbesh. I was just like, did they fucking, like, no way. Disney didn't own them yet, so it's not like they could have been, like, slapped with the copyright fine to, like, kill them all, but I was just like, what is going on? This is a very strange plan.
Actually, this would have been 2013. I think Disney did own them at that point.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was just as it was happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But like, you know, the setup of like all the mechanics of like the message and like I don't know where I am, like that's solid. It's just the fact that like the core conceit and mechanics are a little boomery. Like I think back to like Partners in Crime and think about how like it does that there by like just basically playing into like something that people want in a like non-threatening way. Like adipose is like, yes, it's the name of the alien race, but also it's just a name of a group of fat that like humans know about. Like it's not that suspicious. This is just so red flag inducing that it's like, why would you click that? Why would you, like, okay, now, to be fair, okay, I guess if you're, like, a boomer, maybe. But, like, if you're, like, at all tech savvy, it's like, why would you... No.
That's the other interesting part about this, is seeing Clara, like, the Clara that we follow all the way through 12 from the very beginning, and how so much of that shit has changed. Because I don't remember her being, like, comically bad at technology ever coming up again. And I know they sort of...
Yeah.
Arguably she keeps the, like, computer tech from the Shard or the Great Intelligence or whoever the fuck we want to call him. But even that I don't think is brought up again. So it's just, like, it's interesting to see where they start this character so that they can serve this plot that is ultimately, like, very forgettable in the wide range of stuff that the Clara character has been a part of since. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Honestly, I kind of feel like Clara's mystique kind of gets in the way of her having any, like, major characterization until Capaldi. Like, she's just there.
I disagree. I think she has pretty strong characterization right from, like, I think she might get more later, but I think she's pretty solid already. Like, yeah, she has a defined personality, I'd say.
No, yeah, it's decent. Like, we get hints of, like, why this Clara is a governess as opposed to the last one. We get the whole stuff with the book and that she wants to travel, and the fact that despite everything, she's not, like, taken with the Doctor like he's used to. And for 11, that's new, because he's had Amy, and Rory took a bit of convincing, but, like, they've basically both been like, oh my gosh, you're so great, from, like, the beginning. So, like, that's interesting. It's just, Clara goes through so many soft reboots as a character that it's just like, okay, I don't know how much of this I can get attached to and have it, like, completely not matter later. That's at least my issue in connecting with her as a character at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, yeah. And it's all, like, I do really think that as much, like, I guess you're right. She does have characterization. It's just that it kind of gets drowned out by the arc.
Yeah. I think the whole beginning to the episode is sort of like an encapsulation of, like, oh, he's off isolating himself with the monks, which is totally how he got weird horny, by the way. There's no way you spend, like, decades among monks and not come out, like, weirdly horny. So that plot hole is solved.
There's such a fucking Moffat joke when he's talking to Clara on the phone, and one of the monks is like, are you talking to a spirit? And he's like, no, a woman. And the monk makes this fucking Dios mio face.
He does the fucking sign of the cross. That was, yeah. I laughed because that was stupid, but that was, like, that's the type of joke I would also write, so I can't get too mad.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I enjoyed it
the
too.
fact that it's like
goofy, but, like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the beginning is like you have this, like, I think it's like an oil painting or something, and it's just like, oh, this is significant, like, what could this possibly mean? And then it's juxtaposed by, like, a very normal person, which I'm guessing is the point, but also when you're holding up the mystery, that also takes away from the very normal person that you're, like, introducing, in my opinion. That was sort of, like, where I struggled in the beginning of the episode to, like, connect to Clara. I think once he leaves the stupid, like, monastery, like, the beginning conceit, I think it's, like, it improves so much from that point.
Yeah. Also, I gotta shout out the fact that the place where the monastery is identified in a title card as being Cumbria. Probably a real place. And I imagine someone like Emma's gonna be like, dude, that's a real place. Come on. But also,
it is a real place.
We're memeing and creaming here, okay?
And that's the episode title.
Laughing and splatting.
Okay, Cumbria is a ceremonial and non-metropolitan county in northwest England. The county and Cumbria County Council, its local government.
And Jeff's not going to be a history teacher, that's for fucking sure.
Oh, are you kidding me? Hell no, man.
Whizzing and jizzing.
So true. Many people are saying this.
Okay. Oh yeah, also I forgot about like the fucking kids. Like it's so weird cuz like they're like it's so weird seeing like the fucking like beta, like it's because like 12 Clara lasted for 2 full seasons. It's so weird going back to this and seeing what feels like a beta. Like, remember those fucking kids that show up in like Nightmare in Silver and never again after like this and Nightmare in Silver and never again? Remember that?
There's also no closure with them. It's just like, oh yeah, they're in the last.
They just jump cut to her being a teacher.
Yeah, it's just okay. At least when that happens to fucking that girl in Kill the Moon and that other girl in the forest, the stupid forest episode, like at least those are clearly like one-offs. But here it's like, okay, we're learning. This is like this is the Jackie Tyler situation. This is the Mickey Smith situation. This is like her home base. These are the characters we're going to see, and instead it's just like, oh no, disregard that.
Yeah. And it's like, especially like the thing that really gets me about this is that they're setting up the, oh, who was the woman in the shop who gave Clara the doctor's number shit here. And it's so disappointing that we have to sit through the boring Impossible Girl arc to get to the actually good shit. It's like, man,
I wouldn't have minded seeing Missy against
don't remember
11.
Who.
Sorry. There you go.
What were you gonna say?
I don't remember who was the person at the store.
Missy.
I feel like that. Oh.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like I wouldn't have minded seeing 11 with Missy, and then I was just like, well, her intro is still cool.
I feel like if the fact that like Alex Kingston looks old enough to be like Matt Smith's like mom, Missy would be even worse. Like, I'm kind of glad that Missy did not meet 11. As much as I wish that they didn't waste a bunch of time on this arc that I don't like. I don't think Missy should have met 11, actually. I think that would have been bad.
No. I can see it. Mommy
regardless, she and 12 are like...
just... Missy still has that. She just has it with Clara and Bill.
Yeah,
it's still there.
It with the doctor.
I don't actually like that because they're the same age.
Okay,
that doesn't work.
Just because two people are the same age doesn't mean one can't be the mommy in the relationship, okay? Don't kink shame me.
You know what? Fair enough. Let's just move on.
No starting the discourse on this podcast. No siree. Yeah, it's... Again, I forget how many, like, sort of significant things start, like, nominally start here. And meanwhile, the plot is just sort of, like, here. We see the Great Intelligence again. Woo. Richard E. Grant, come get your money.
Yeah, so Clara almost gets internet vored, and then he does what my good friend Jarius calls hacking into the gamer mainframe gameframe.
An accurate description.
And like it's so funny. It's like someone's trying to reverse an upload and you just see them like furiously typing at each other. It's like, have you ever seen that like fucking meme where it's like the SpongeBob like a clip from the SpongeBob episode where it's like we find our heroes locked in a battle of wits and it's just a shot of one of them typing like KYS. I just imagine something like that.
Yeah. Credit to the music and like the effects for not making it completely ridiculous. It kind of elevates how pulpy that stuff is. And one of the few credits I'll give to the plot, the idea of these like spoon drones that like they turn around and it's like this person's head is like carved out. It's just like, that's effective imagery. One of the few things in the plot that I was just like, okay, you did something with that. Neat.
Yeah. So he rescues Clara, does a bunch, like, lays her out to rest, does a bunch of shit around the house. It's a little cute, and then I'm sorry, some planes have Wi-Fi is the dumbest fucking shit. Like, I understand theoretically in the mechanics of like, oh, okay, they can use this Wi-Fi network to vore people. I don't get the fucking dumb shit of like, they can knock everyone in a plane. Like, it is fucking like 5G causing COVID shit. It's that kind of like conspiracy boomer energy.
This is the part of the story where I think like the themes sort of overlap each other, because we have this whole like the Wi-Fi is dangerous woo thing, and then you have this thing that sort of starts with the plane and then becomes like more of a thing the next day, where it's sort of like more of a commentary on how there's like how dangerous the surveillance state is, or how dangerous like unmitigated access to like this level of information is, with like the photos and taking control of planes, where it like stops being about the Wi-Fi, but they emphasize the Wi-Fi so much at the beginning that I'm just like, okay, I guess you went somewhere good with this, but could we have just started here, please?
Yeah, and also like it really could have benefited from RTD's utter lack of subtlety. Like, it's just kind of, there's no spice to it. It's just a nondescript corporation that's like not even necessarily like government connected. Like, it doesn't have that extra sauce to it. It doesn't have like one of the Slitheen on TV talking about these aliens having deadly weapons of mass destruction,
Yeah,
it needs that complete lack of subtlety.
There's one good line, and that is that I think it's like the beginning scene of them where Mrs. Kislet is like talking to Alexei, and then afterwards she's just like, we really should kill him, but no, wait till he's back on holiday. Let's not be unreasonable. Like that level of quote unquote corporate compassion. I thought that was, like, good at injecting some personality, but aside from that, it's just like, oh, they hack their employees because they're evil. And, there's, like, one more scene where it's, like, kind of impressive, the stuff they can do, but other than that, it's just, it's satisfying to see an enemy that's, like, so powerful that the Doctor so easily defeats in basically an afternoon's work.
Yeah, it's so... Yeah, like, this feels like you know, like the Sontaran shit was a two-parter, and that's really, I think, a comparison to make here.
Yeah.
Oh man, speaking of the Sontaran shit, I made a joke the other day to my parents, and I think we were talking about, I can't remember why, I think we were talking about like Grimes and Elon Musk or whatever, and I made the joke that like I feel like if Tesla cars become more prominent, we're gonna get to the point in 20 years where gas starts spewing out of them, and the Sontaran invasion begins. He has that energy. He's like Luke Radigan, but like allowed to like live beyond 18.
Luke Radigan, but somehow was able to score a Yang Gang reject music pop star lady.
Yeah.
Doesn't really work that far as an analogy. Point being, what is this fucking plot?
Yeah.
What is it doing to us?
Like, it's a stupid, fun popcorn episode, but it's like we are fully in the era where, like, if you try to look too closely into any of this shit, it completely falls apart. I at least appreciate it for being out there.
You know what else this episode introduces? It introduces the fucking motorbike. Which, granted, I think only shows up, like, once again in the 50th, if I'm remembering correctly. But still, it's just, like, looking back, I always think that's a thing that happens there. And I'm always super confused, being like, why is there just a random motorcycle in the 50th anniversary? But no, it's here.
Yeah.
That's a neat piece of, like... Usually when an episode of Doctor Who is trying to show the Doctor as, like, some sort of, like, action hero or doing something, like, physical, it can either come off as, like ironically cool or, like, effective, or completely fall on its face. And I think, gratefully, this is an example of the former, not the latter.
Yeah.
I really liked the anti-grav Olympics line. It was the right kind of Doctor Who goofy.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will say I do really like the bit where he finds them by, like, hacking into, like, every single social media site, and the guy being like, how many of you are on social media? How many of you said where you work?
That's some good shit.
Yeah, like, that's good. I like that.
That was a bit of, like, actual hacking, almost.
Yeah, almost.
Also, the fact that he mentioned, like, so many websites, I have no idea what the fuck they are. He mentioned MySpace in, like, 2013. I was like, was MySpace still a thing back in 2013?
Again, it's got boomer energy. It's gonna list out of date shit.
Yeah, Twitter joke.
I feel like
insert PNG.
Yeah. I feel like, you know, I like Miss Kislet, but also I think the fact that she has been so completely, like, manipulated and controlled, and, like, reverts to, like, a child after the great intelligence leads, kind of removes a human element. Like, I feel like you could make a really much more fun / interesting episode by having, like, just a straight up, like, Zuckerberg analog who's like, no, I think this is actually cool.
I mean,
it's also
again,
like a moment.
The Sontarans.
Yeah, Luke
Yes.
Radigan, yeah.
It's a moment of horror that feels, like, oddly out of place. Like that ending scene where the soldiers are where the unit soldiers are questioning the people, and especially the boss, is like, that feels like out of a Black Mirror episode. Like, you could do something with that there, but in a Doctor Who fair, it's just like, whoa, okay. We're not going to examine that at all. It's just you're just going to drop that on us and leave? Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So yeah. Uh, and then he's basically like, yeah, woo, mystery, time to find out who you are. And then that's the end of the episode. It's actually kind of a surprisingly short ending. Like abrupt ending on that. I guess it does actually like use the full 45 minutes, even if I think it could have used a little bit extra sauce in there. Yeah. I mean, unless you guys have anything else, that's it for me on this one.
Ditto.
All right. So yeah, like moving on to ratings. You know, it's good. It's a fun popcorn episode that unfortunately, like a lot of Moffat episodes, feels like a bit of style over substance. And I wish they'd gone a little bit harder with some of this stuff. But, you know, for what it is, like it's all right, you know. I'd say it's a solid like B+, A- episode. I can't bring myself to hate this episode. It's fun. I enjoy it. It's a shame that I don't think Clara really gets good for several more episodes, but you know, it works for now. I'm fine with it. It's better than where we were.
Cool. Yeah, this probably sounds like an insult, but this is very acceptable, very serviceable. It's nice to get a new companion. I'm still loving this season 7B Doctor Who intro. This is my favorite 11 look that he has, is his series 7B look, so it's nice to finally be there. There's some genuine good moments of cleverness and thoughtfulness in the plot, but ultimately it's sort of like half-baked. The themes are half-baked. It's, you know, we're all there to see Clara again. Credit to the episode, she could have died again, and if series 7B was just the Doctor finding different Claras throughout time and space, and the modern one was a red herring, that could have been neat. But the concept works great on its own.
Yeah, that actually could have been pretty neat.
Yeah.
Because really, when I think about it, like, I mean, I guess there has to be some investment there for, like, deep breath and the change there for it to work. But really, like, aside from her initial wariness towards 11, it really feels like a lot of Clara's arc doesn't actually properly start until 12, because the like Impossible Girl shit feels so fucking half-baked.
Yeah, so that's a problem that I think largely crops up later. Right off the bat, Jenna Louise Coleman and Matt Smith have a chemistry that, while I don't think is as like grand and as refined as 12 and Clara will become, it's different enough from the type of stuff that Matt Smith had with Karen Gillan, that it works for me. I can see this being like a different dynamic that can grow and change. Unfortunately, the Impossible Girl stuff sort of muddles that. But yeah, it's decent. It's nice to sort of be starting over again and not be talking about the same issues with the companion dynamics. I'm sure we'll get into some repetition with 11 era Clara, but right now it's enough. As Jeff's, I think, perfectly encapsulated, it's a popcorn episode, solid B.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I don't know what else I can say. I think it's a good introduction to 11 and Clara, for sure. and I think it really sold me on their dynamic, even though obviously I still think 12 and Clara and better. I think this is like a very good proof of concept that made me appreciate a bit more their specific dynamic. The story itself was just kind of fine, but it didn't need to be amazing. It just needed to really serve as a vehicle to get those two together, and I think it did a good job of that. And I think for the most part the writing in this episode is really solid. Yeah.
All right. So next week we will be discussing the Rings of Akaten. Until then, you can follow the podcast on Twitter at B2TARDISPod. You can support us on Patreon for a number of benefits, such as early access to episodes, the ability to listen in live to episodes being recorded, and potentially even the ability to guest star upon an episode of your choosing. Geoff, you can follow me on Twitter at WheatleyDL.
I'm in perpetual gay panic. You can follow me at Of Mice and Femmes.
I'm no one, and my eyes are failing me.
F. And we will see you all next week.